Hi, it's Don with Focused Healthy Family. Gina and I are working on some really great interviews coming up soon. And thinking about interviews, I wanted to play an interview that I did some years ago, about almost 5 years ago, on a different podcast that I did called The Invisible Wheelchair. I interviewed Kylie Odetta, this wonderful singer that came across, and at the time we were talking about OCD, and she was one that suffered from OCD through her life and had really gotten past it and has begun a wonderful singing career. And it was just a fun interview. And we're going to be doing more present day interviews coming up really soon. But I wanted to share this one with you because I really thought it was really cool. And she's a wonderful person that I want you to meet. So here we go. Going to do the interview with Kylie Odetta, and I hope you enjoy it. And today I really wanted to focus on your story because as I hear about your story, as I listen to your music, I really feel like you can be an inspiration, and you are an inspiration, I should say, and will be an inspiration to so many people, both young and old, I think, in a way. So I really want to talk about your story and how the complexity of it.
Yeah.
So where do we begin? Tell me where it all began for you.
Where it all began. So, I'm 22 and I started writing songs when I was 8 years old. So I guess that's kind of where my musical journey began. And I performed in my school talent show when I was 11, and that was really when I knew that I wanted to be a singer and a musician for the rest of my life. I came off the stage and I had terrible stage fright at the time. So I guess I did have a little bit of anxiety and nerves, I think, then just normal stage fright nerves. But it was kind of extreme because I would make my family go into an opposite room and shut the door, and then I would whisper sing behind the door so they couldn't hear me. I set up lots of rules for how they could hear me sing because I was so nervous. But I came off the stage that night when I was 11, and I looked at my mom and I said, I want to be a singer. She said, okay, how do we do that? And I was like, I don't really know. I just know that I love this so much and I want to start now. And so, they had a friend who had a little makeshift studio in his attic of the house out in South Carolina. And we recorded my first CD when I was 12. And then because I started being so passionate about music at such a young age, I actually got bullied really heavily in middle school from just peers, not really understanding why I was so passionate about music and just, I think, pointing out anything that's different. Kids love to do that. And so at the time that was really difficult, but I'm thankful that I had my family to support me and encourage me to keep going. Later on in life, I ended up getting to open up for some really cool artists when I was 14 and 15, like Colbie Callait and Gavin DeGraw at local festivals in South Carolina. And then I ended up going on my first national tour when I was 18, recording music all along the way. I went out, I graduated high school a year early from online school because I was already touring and traveling a lot. And so I was, I had a career, I had a lot of stuff that was going really positive for me. And then I think it was when I was 19 or 20, I got hit with a really severe case of anxiety and OCD intrusive thoughts. And it was triggered by a breakup that I had, a lot of emotional things going on in my family at the time. And it just seemed like at the start of the summer, boom, all of these thoughts that I could not escape from started attacking my mind. And I had suffered with anxiety, like I said, for a little while, I think, but I didn't really know what was going on. And so I ended up seeing a therapist during that time. I ended up trying all kinds of different things to try and overcome what was going on in my mind. And I did end up finding healing. But it was a really long journey and it was a really kind of difficult experience. And I'm 22 now, like I said, so that was a couple years ago, but I ended up writing lots of music about that time. And my hope, I just released it. It's called Roots and Petals. My hope is that through my struggles and my triumph over them, other people might be able to relate, first of all, and find hope that they can overcome them too.
So how did you see the anxiety and OCD? how did it affect your music? Now, you mentioned that you wrote about it, which I
Mhm.
think that was probably part of a good therapy for you, I would imagine. But how else do you think that it might have affected it? Did it bring it down some, or did it change it somehow?
Oh, absolutely. When I was going through that, I had pretty much most of my life been a pretty bubbly, vibrant personality. I was a happy kid, and although I had stage fright, like I talked about, I enjoyed what I did. I had a great family, and I was in a really positive place most of the time. When I really started suffering with these thoughts and anxiety, I completely lost my confidence. I lost my identity. I feel like I lost my personality, because I just felt like I could not even escape my own mind. And I was thinking all these horrible things that I was thinking about myself were true. And it really took the wind out of my sails for months. I mean, I didn't write music at all for during the actual time that I was dealing with that. I didn't hardly write any music. It was when I started coming out of that season that I was able to kind of look back and write on what I was going through. But at the time, it was just too difficult, honestly. And so for a period of time, it majorly affected me as a person, obviously. But then I think looking back and coming out of that season, it impacted me in a positive way because it gave so much more depth to what I wrote about. And I remember specifically a conversation I had with my friend. I was like, I don't understand why this happened. I don't understand why I had to go through that. And he was like, you know what? I don't think we'll ever truly know, but you now have the ability to empathize with people who don't want to live another day because they're so overwhelmed with their emotions and what's going on in their brain. And he was like, you've been there. You've not wanted to live another day. You've been to the depths of that dark, and you can look somebody in the face and say that you get it. And I was like, wow. I mean, I still wish I would have never gone through that. But now, like I said, looking back, I'm grateful that I did, because I have been able to talk to people, and I've heard stories of people who relate to exactly what I went through as well. And I've seen them realize that, wow, I'm not alone. And wow, maybe I can take another step, take another breath, live another day. And that means everything to me. So although I don't wish it upon anybody, I would go through it again for that simple fact.
And I think you hit it in the fact that a lot of people have my own story. I mean, not I don't have OCD myself, but because of my now two daughters who have OCD, I wouldn't be able to help people the way I believe I help them now, because I do this as a practice also. I work with people and coaching them through different therapies. So I understand that fully. Yeah, and you are I think, and I'm not sure how to say it, you're a better person because of it. And
Yeah.
I don't know you, so I'm not saying that in the fact of you weren't good before,
No,
just
yeah.
meaning that that's what OCD does to you. It
Yeah.
makes you a better person, more empathetic, whatever.
Yeah.
So what
Absolutely.
what were your how did you get through it? What did you use? What kind of techniques? What got you through to the other side of it?
Yeah. So it was a mix of things. I'll just kind of list them off, then I'll go a little bit more into detail. But, like I said, I spoke to a therapist during that time. I did my own research on cognitive behavioral therapy. I practiced mindfulness, and I really leaned into my faith and talking to close people in my life. And so it was really important for me to be able to have at least somebody that I could be completely honest with about what was going on and what type of thoughts I was having, because that, I think, is a big thing, is that you feel so ashamed almost. You're like, why am I experiencing this, and why me, and why these thoughts? And if you feel like you can't talk to anybody, then I feel like I probably wouldn't have made as much progress. So just being able to have somebody that you can be completely honest with no judgment was so crucial for me. And then, like I said, the mindfulness was a big part of it too, meaning that I specifically spoke scripture over myself, which from the Bible, which was, the one that I clung to the most was, for I was not given a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and love and sound mind, which is 2 Timothy 1:7. And so I had a friend encourage me to do that every day, multiple times a day, when I was feeling fearful or, like I was crazy. And that verse says, no, I'm not that. I'm actually full of love. I'm full of power, and I have a sound mind. And so even when I didn't believe that, I started to say it actually out loud over myself. And I just practiced, renewing my mind by staying on that truth and taking that as truth rather than the things I was thinking, so I was replacing those kind of thoughts with another positive thought. Another big thing for me was just simple and fun distraction, because it was kind of, when you start to ruminate on your thoughts, they just create more pathways, and it ends up intensifying your suffering. And so when I would try so hard to don't think that, I was thinking more and more and more and more. And so what I started to do was, when I would have a thought, I would first take the emotional connection away from it. My therapist helped me with that a lot, knowing that we have crazy thoughts all the time. Everybody has them all day long, but that doesn't mean that they're true. But, people with OCD or anxiety often latch onto them, myself included, at that time, and spin on them and think about them and dwell on them. And then it gets stuck, And so what I would do instead is I would literally visualize myself saying hello to this thought, like it's a movie screen passing through your head, like credits are rolling through, say hello, and then watch it say, okay, goodbye. And no, almost accept the thought, not that it's true, but that it's gonna come, and it doesn't have to be scary, And so that was a big thing for me, because I just freaked out whenever things would pop into my head. But as I started to prepare myself and say, okay, this is probably gonna come into my head again, but when it does, I'm not gonna attach fear to it. I'm just gonna say, yeah, there's a thought, and there that thought goes. And so I would do a lot of that and a lot of distraction, where, again, if I was finding myself going into a spiral, I would run outside and jump around in the yard, or go call a friend, or, listen to my favorite song, or do something, draw, that brought me back into the physical world, rather than just spending so much time in my brain sitting and thinking.
That's wonderful. I love the fact that you use mindfulness, because that's something that I've been doing more and more work on. In fact, there's now a workbook called Mindfulness for OCD, and it's really good. So the how did you, as far as that's how you did as far as the OCD. How did you handle the bullying part? What kinds of things did you do? Anything differently to that, or is it you use a lot of the same techniques for that?
So when I was bullied, the main things that I did was really lean into, like I said, those few trusted people that love me and encouraged me and reminded me who I was. I think it's so important, and you can feel so alone in times of being bullied or times of, experiencing OCD. But to have people that believe in you and can remind you who you really are when you maybe can't see that, or you're thinking, I don't know who I am anymore. But those people who can tell you, hey, I love you, I see you, I believe in you, and I'm here for you. So I think that's super important. And that was honestly the biggest thing during that time, because I did have people who were speaking some encouragement into me, rather than just negative voices that were saying, you should stop, or you're not good, or this or that, or we don't want you here. I had a couple people in my life, my parents and a few close friends, who were like, no, we want you here. We love you. We love what you're doing. Keep going. And so having that, I think, was honestly the biggest part during that time, because that was back in middle school. And so I don't know what I would have done without a supportive family, to be honest.
Yeah. So who was your, and I guess this has to do with the musical, who was your influence? Who did you admire, listen to, that led you to where you are?
Yeah. So it's actually crazy, because as a musician, I get asked this question a lot of, like, who is your musical influence? And it's always hard for me, because people usually have like one or two people. They're like, oh, this person inspired me to be a musician. But honestly, I listened to such a variety of music growing up, and there was never one person in particular who inspired me. But if I had to choose somebody, I'd actually say my dad. Because my dad, he used to write songs when we were younger, and he would sing us to sleep, and my mom would sing us to sleep too. And so I just got to see him do that and sing us to sleep every night. We would sit out on the couch and watch CMT music videos late at night when I couldn't sleep. And so again, like he just really encouraged me in music from a very young age, and I got to see him do it, not professionally, but you know, it was a passion of his, and it was always in the house. And so I think that just kind of infiltrated into me very naturally, rather than an artist that I saw that I wanted to be like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, your style is so unique that you could put off of that. So how do you see yourself wanting to inspire others and influence others?
So honestly, I really want for people to listen to my music and know that, number one, they can connect to it and hopefully feel like they're not the only one. Because a big thing throughout, I think throughout all of life, and especially when I was suffering with anxiety and OCD, is that I felt like I knew that other people had suffered from this, but I felt in my specific thoughts and my specific emotions, I was isolated. And so to really just allow people who maybe don't express themselves through writing or have a outlet like that to find the words that speak to what they're feeling, so that they can know, wow, like I am not alone. You know, there's somebody else out here who has experienced this, and this speaks to me, and this makes me feel like we're together in this. So I want people to connect and feel like they're not alone, because they're not, truly. I mean, the craziest, worst thing you've probably ever thought, somebody out there has thought that as well, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're all human. We all have those crazy things that happen. And two, that, you know, there is hope to overcome these types of things, and that you don't have to be marked or labeled with something for your whole life. You know, like, you get to decide and choose who you are every day. And we have, you know, crazy thoughts, and we have emotional experience, and we have traumatic events that happen in our life that cause these things. But at the end of the day, those things don't define us. We're a human being who deserves love first, and who can step out and decide who we want to be that day, you know? And so I want to empower and encourage people with my music to feel confident, and to feel like they can go ask for help and just get a little bit of courage, you know, because there's hope on the other side. And they've seen somebody who has been to the depths of that, not wanting to go another day, and now is not living in that same space anymore. So really just to provide some connectedness and some hope and joy. Like, I think sometimes we just need to get back to simple basics. Like, life is beautiful, and there's a lot of hard things, but there's a lot of amazing, wonderful, magical experiences to have. And if we can break out of our brains and open our eyes to see that, then we're all for the better, you know? Like, it just makes life more fun and more easy to bear when we do go through hard times.
That's wonderful. That is an inspiration just by itself. Um, so I think I mentioned to you, I don't know if you'd be interested in giving us a little taste of a song.
Yeah,
Is that something you can do impromptu?
that is something I can do. Would you like me to play piano and sing, or just sing?
That would be great. The
Okay.
piano would be wonderful too. Yes. And I don't know if you want to give a little teaser to the new song you've got coming out or not. You don't have to. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely do that. I just am walking over. You can maybe cut this part out if you'd
That's
like.
all right. Yeah.
I needed to get over here. I forgot that we were going to do that, but that is totally cool. Let me just make sure you can hear it okay. Can you hear the piano?
Sounds good.
All right. So I will sing a song. Let's see. I'll sing a little bit of Roots and Petals, which is my title track off my EP, which is out now. So this is that song, and it's about my battle with anxiety and overcoming. Though my roots are deep, I can feel my petals withering. Yeah, my knuckles bleed. I can hear my mind scream retreat. Some days I'm going towards the light, 'Cause when I fight, I know that I can lose. In the face of truth, I'm stronger than you. So I will give you no power, no attention, no time. Yeah, goodbye, go pass on by. I'm taking back my mind. There you go. Thank you.
And I like your friend back there in the back there.
My dog.
Yes.
That's Zella.
Zella. Yeah. We have 2 dogs and 2 cats and 3 cats outside, so I very much appreciate it.
Pets are the best.
Yes, they are. Finally, the last thing I'll say is, how would you recommend people finding out more about you? Maybe a website, whatever. Give me some thoughts for my audience to know how they can find you best.
Yeah, so I'm on, oh goodness, hold on. You still there?
Yeah.
Sorry, someone called me right in the middle, and so I was like, wait, what happened? All right, I'll pause and then start over again. So you can find me on my website at kylieodetta.com. I'm also on all socials like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. So if you just Google Kylie Odetta, you'll probably find me somehow. But the website is probably the easiest one-stop shop for people.
And of course, I'll remind my audience that I'll have all of that information up on the Invisible Wheelchair podcast website so that you can find it there also. So Kylie, it's been wonderful to talk with you. I've really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the music. It sounds beautiful. And I thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been so great to talk.
Hope you've enjoyed our podcast today. We'd love for you to share this with other people, like this podcast, and know that you can listen to it anywhere you hear podcasts, and you can watch it on YouTube. And be sure to follow us, like us, share the information with other people, check out our other videos or other podcasts that we do, covering a whole variety of topics from parenting our children, our parents, and ourselves, with us focusing more recently on juggling family life, caring for aging loved ones, but also covering other topics of parenting, all aspects of parenting. And check out, previous podcasts. We covered foster parenting topics and have interviewed some really awesome people in some different areas. So be sure to check that out. If you have other questions about what we do, be sure to go to our Facebook page and learn more about the things we do with Focused Healthy Family. Don does tapping if you're watching us, EFT tapping, and you can learn more about his practice and what he does. I do an Ask the OT. Don and I do it together, but about twice a month or more. We're going live online for about a half an hour. It happens on YouTube, and you can come in through Zoom. You can send in questions or join us. Again, reach out to us with questions or come in via YouTube for those events to just your questions about caring for aging loved ones, juggling different responsibilities. And I'd love to be there and support you and have conversations, and know that if you need more help, if you want more answers, that's what our consulting work is all about, is supporting you. All this work I've been doing with my dad and my mom and navigating these avenues. I'm working on a pamphlet right now, navigating hospital to rehab to home. And there's just so many little bits of information that I can share with people. And when I can learn about you and your own situation and your loved one, I can help you more directly and more specifically. So go to Focused Healthy Family, follow us on Instagram, on YouTube.
You can find us by going to the focusedhealthyfamily.com website.
And you join those on YouTube, Don?
They're not. I'm not putting them out. These are group tappings. They're
private.
They're done through Zoom, but yeah,
Zoom.
they're
They're
not
private. They won't be aired. So
you,
you join in. You find out the information by going to our website, by contacting us to learn more about these things. And remember, how you speak to your children and your loved ones today shapes their future and yours.